Title: Amaka and Obinna Story. Subtitle: Breaking the Chains of Cultural Bondage. Author: Liz Adigbite. Dedication: to God and Jesus Christ, who break every chain and set captives free. Screenplay Episode 1, A Love That Began in School, from Amaka and Obinna Story, Breaking the Chains of Cultural Bondage. Duration: 3-4 minutes. Scene focus: first meeting and friendship between Amaka and Obinna. Scene 1: Schoolyard beginnings. 00:0000:20 Camera: wide shot Nigerian secondary school compound, bustling playground. Visual: students in uniform playing, chatting. Dusty grounds. Afternoon sunlight. SFX: ambient school noise, laughter, birds chirping, distant bell. Narrator: VO. In a quiet corner of a bustling schoolyard, a story begins. A story of love and legacy. Scene 2: Amaka reading alone. 00:21:00:40 Camera: slow zoom in Amaka reading under a mango tree. Visual: close-up of Amaka's face, serene expression, book pages flutter in breeze. SFX: gentle wind, soft page flips. Narrator: VO. Amaka was known for her silence, her brilliance, and her grace. She didn't speak much, but her presence spoke volumes. Scene 3: Obinna watches. 00:41:01:00 Camera: over the shoulder Obinna observing Amaka from afar. Friends beside him. Visual: Obinna smiling, his friends nudging him playfully. Friend, laughing: Obinna, go talk to her now. Or do you want her to graduate before you say hello? Obinna whispers, she's not like the others, she's special. Scene 4: First interaction. 01:01:01:30 Camera: medium shot Obinna approaches Amaka, extends a mango. Visual: natural lighting, soft breeze. Gentle smiles. Obinna: hi Amaka. I thought you might like this. Amaka, smiling slightly, thank you. Most boys just throw mangoes, not give them. Narrator: VO. That simple moment was the beginning of something greater. A friendship that grew beyond books and classrooms. Scene 5: Friendship montage. 01:31:02:30 Camera: series of quick cuts. Visuals: Amaka and Obinna studying under a tree. Walking home, sharing roasted corn. Laughing as Obinna balances books on his head. Sitting beside a stream, skipping stones. Music: soft Afrobeat instrumental. Text on screen: every love has a beginning, but not every love survives the test of time. Scene 6: Moral reflection. 02:31:03:00 Camera: wide shot sunset. Amaka and Obinna silhouetted. Visual: sitting silently under tree, watching the sky. Narrator: VO. They were young. But love, real love, often begins when hearts are pure. They had no idea the storms that were coming. Text on screen: open book Genesis 2:24 A man shall leave his father and mother. Scene 7: Outro prompt. 03:01:03:30 Camera: slow zoom Amaka alone, hands on her stomach, worried expression. Visual: dim evening light. Teaser of next episode. Narrator: VO. Next time, choices are made, and consequences begin. What happens when young love faces a life-changing decision? Text on screen: what advice would you give Amaka right now? Comment below. Screenplay format Episode 2, The Unexpected Pregnancy and New Life Together, from Amaka and Obinna Story, Breaking the Chains of Cultural Bondage. Duration: 4-5 minutes. Scene focus: Amaka's unexpected pregnancy and the beginning of shared life with Obinna. Scene 1: Realization. 00:00:45 Camera: close-up of Amaka in the bathroom holding a pregnancy test. Visual: her expression moves from shock to fear. SFX: distant thunder, heartbeat increasing. Narrator, VO. One moment. One test. And everything changed. Scene 2 breaking the news. 00:4601:30 camera, medium shot Amaka and Obinna sitting under a tree at dusk. Visual, Amaka looks down, hands clenched. Obinna looks worried. Amaka, I'm pregnant. Obinna, shocked, soft voice, are you sure? Narrator, VO. The future they once imagined now felt like an unfinished sentence. Scene 3 moving in. 01:30:102:30 camera, wide shot Obinna helps Amaka carry a small bag into his one-room apartment. Visual, sparse room. A mattress, small table. Humble beginnings. SFX, distant city noise, baby crying in background, foreshadowing. Narrator, VO. They chose each other not because it was easy, but because they had no other choice. Scene 4 struggles begin. 02:30:103:30 camera, montage. Visuals. Amaka waking up early to fetch water. Obinna eating plain rice, looking tired after work. Amaka crying silently while washing baby clothes. Music, somber but hopeful piano melody. Narrator, VO. Every new life comes with labor. And not all of it is physical. Scene 5 holding on to hope. 03:30:104:30 camera, medium shot Amaka and Obinna sitting on their small bed, holding hands. Visual, candle light flickers. Amaka rests her head on Obinna's shoulder. Obinna, we'll make it through. For our child. For us. Amaka, softly, I believe you. Narrator, VO. Hope is strongest when it's the only thing you have left. Scene 6 outro prompt. 04:30:105:00 visual, a faded photo of young Amaka and Obinna with a newborn baby. Narrator, VO. Next time, tradition challenges their love, and obedience demands sacrifice. Text on screen, what would you do in Amaka's shoes? Share your thoughts below. Screenplay Episode 3, The Unpaid Bride Price from Amaka and Obinna Story, Breaking the Chains of Cultural Bondage. Duration, 4-5 minutes. Scene focus, Obinna's refusal to pay the bride price and the cultural consequences that follow. Scene 1 family expectation. 00:00:40 camera, medium shot Amaka's parents sitting in a living room, discussing expectations. Visual, traditional attire, stern faces. An elder shakes his head. Father, 3 children already, and still no bride price? What kind of message is that? Mother, he's treating our daughter like she's free. That's not our way. Narrator, VO. Tradition speaks loudly in matters of family and honor. Scene 2 confrontation. 00:41:01:30 camera, medium shot Obinna and Amaka in their room. Tension in the air. Visual, Obinna folding clothes. Amaka sitting, concerned. Amaka, my father asked again. Will you pay the bride price? Obinna, irritated, I said after 3 children. That was our deal. Let them wait. Narrator, VO. Words made in youthful pride became the seeds of struggle. Scene 3 cultural echoes. 01:30:102:30 camera, montage neighbors gossiping, elders whispering, Amaka walking past eyes filled with judgment. Visual, highlight tension and shame. SFX, low murmurs, faint drumbeat. Narrator, VO. In the eyes of the village, unfulfilled custom is a stain not easily washed. Scene 4 Amaka's grief. 02:30:103:30 camera, close-up Amaka praying alone at night, tearful. Visual, candle lit beside her. Children sleeping. Amaka, whispering, God, please, open his heart. Let peace come to my house. Narrator, VO. Sometimes, it's not the loud fights that break hearts, but the quiet disappointments. Scene 5 ending tease. 033104:30 visual, a traditional drumbeat intensifies. Elder delivers a message to the family. Elder, if he will not pay, we will make a rule, no man will marry into this house without paying double. Narrator, VO. And so the curse was written not with blood, but with pride. Scene 6 outro prompt. 043105:00 text on screen, should love ignore tradition? Or must it always bow? Share your thoughts. Screenplay Episode 4, The Birth of Three Children from Amaka and Obinna Story, Breaking the Chains of Cultural Bondage. Duration, 4-5 minutes. Scene focus, Amaka gives birth to 3 daughters, but Obinna still refuses to fulfill his promise. Scene 1 The first cry. 00:00:40 camera, close-up newborn baby wrapped in cloth, placed in Amaka's arms. Visual, Amaka tears up with joy. SFX, baby's first cry, soft lullaby playing. Narrator, VO. A new life cried out. A mother's love blossomed in an instant. Scene 2 Growing family. 00:4101:30 camera, montage Amaka caring for her first daughter, then 2 more. Visual, family photos, diaper changes, laughter. Music, gentle instrumental, joyful. Narrator, VO. 1 became 2. 2 became 3. And through it all, Amaka remained strong. Scene 3 Repeated requests. 01:31:02:30 camera, medium shot Amaka sitting with her parents. Visual, her father looking stern, mother sighing. Father, has Obinna fulfilled his word? Amaka, softly, not yet. Mother, we gave him time. But this is shameful. Narrator, VO. Promises unkept begin to rot the roots of respect. Scene 4 Obinna's indifference. 02:31:03:30 camera, Obinna at work, laughing with friends, ignoring a call from Amaka. Visual, he silences the phone, dismissive gesture. Friend, still no bride price. Obinna, they should be grateful I kept her. Narrator, VO. When pride speaks louder than love, hearts begin to harden. Scene 5 Closing reflection. 03:31:04:30 visual, Amaka watches her daughters sleep. She lays her hands on their heads and whispers. Amaka, may your lives be easier than mine. Narrator, VO. In her silence, a prayer was sown. But in the silence of others, tradition was waiting. Scene 6 Outro prompt. 04:31:05:00 text on screen, how long should one wait for a promise to be fulfilled? What would you do? Screenplay Episode 5, Traditions grip the family's decision from Amaka and Obinna Story, Breaking the Chains of Cultural Bondage. Duration, 4-5 minutes. Scene focus, Amaka's family, frustrated by dishonor, institutes a new tradition that will haunt the next generation. Scene 1 Family Council. 00:00:50 camera, wide shot family elders gathered in a traditional hall. Visual, tense atmosphere. An elder pounds his walking stick on the floor. Elder, he refuses us respect. We will show him the cost. Narrator, VO. When tradition is wounded, it often strikes back with vengeance. Scene 2 A new rule. 00:51:01:30 camera, medium shot Amaka's uncle standing to address the group. Visual, a clay pot is cracked in symbolism. Uncle, from now on, any man who wishes to marry her daughters will pay her bride price first, or none at all. Narrator, VO. A new law was born, but its burden would fall not on the guilty, but the innocent. Scene 3 Amaka informed. 01:31:02:30 camera, close-up Amaka reacts to the decision. Visual, she looks down, speechless, holding her children tightly. Amaka, but they are only girls, why punish them for this? Mother, firmly, they carry your name. They carry your shame. Narrator, VO. The weight of cultural debt began to settle on little shoulders. Scene 4. Generational echoes. 023103:30 Camera, flash forward visuals. Young men rejecting the daughters, whispering, shaking heads. Visual, split screen, Amaka weeping, her daughters confused. Music, low, haunting instrumental. Narrator, VO. What began as protection soon became a prison. Scene 5. Closing reflection. 033104:30 Visual, a clay pot repaired with gold sits on the windowsill as dawn rises. Narrator, VO. Tradition can guide, or it can guard chains. The question is, who holds the key? Scene 6. Outro prompt. 043105:00 Text on screen, is it right to use tradition to teach a lesson? Who pays the price? Screenplay Episode 6, The Unmarried Daughters and Their Struggles. From, Amaka and Obinna Story, Breaking the Chains of Cultural Bondage. Duration, 4-5 minutes. Scene focus, the impact of the family's decision on Amaka's daughters as they face rejection and emotional struggles. Scene 1. Daughters at home. 00:00:45. Camera, medium shot. 3 daughters sitting together, braiding hair and chatting. Visual, playful atmosphere slowly dims as one daughter brings up marriage. Helen. Ada's getting married next week, again another one before us. Victoria. They said her fiancé only paid one bride price. Lucky her. Narrator, VO. They laughed, but behind the smiles, disappointment grew roots. Scene 2. Rejection at the door. 00:46:01:30. Camera, close up. A young man standing before Amaka. Visual, tension. He holds a gift basket but looks nervous. Suitor. My family cannot pay double. I'm sorry. Amaka, quietly. I understand. Narrator, VO. For every man that turned away, a piece of hope was chipped off. Scene 3. Internal struggle. 01:31:02:30. Camera, intercut. Each daughter in their room, alone. Visual, journals being closed, tears hidden, windows stared through. Music, soft, melancholic strings. Narrator, VO. Dreams delayed are not always dreams denied, but they still hurt. Scene 4. Community whispers. 02:31:03:30. Camera, wide shot. Marketplace and church compound. Visual, women whispering, heads shaking as daughters walk by. Passerby, whispering. Still not married? They must be cursed. Narrator, VO. Where tradition rules, mercy is often a stranger. Scene 5. Amaka's plea. 03:31:04:30. Visual, Amaka kneeling in prayer, hands lifted. Amaka. God, have mercy. If not for me, then for them. Free my daughters. Narrator, VO. One mother's cry can reach heaven, even when men won't listen. Scene 6. Outro prompt. 04:31:05:00. Text on screen. Should children bear the weight of their parents' past? How can this chain be broken? Screenplay Episode 7, A Pastor's Intervention. From, Amaka and Obinna Story, Breaking the Chains of Cultural Bondage. Duration, 4-5 minutes. Scene focus, a spiritual leader enters the story, offering clarity and a path forward through faith and truth. Scene 1. The visit. 00:00:45. Camera, medium shot. A pastor walking into Amaka's home, greeted respectfully. Visual, dim lighting, respectful atmosphere. Narrator, VO. When human efforts fail, faith often finds the door left ajar. Scene 2 Family Meeting 00:4601:30 Camera, wide shot Pastor, Amaka, her daughters, and elders gathered in a circle. Visual, tension and hope mixed on their faces. Pastor. This is more than tradition. This is bondage. We must seek God's will. Scene 3 Revelation 01:31:02:30 Camera, close up Pastor praying, then opening his Bible. Visual, scripture pages turn. Pastor lays hands on Amaka. Pastor. The curse began with disobedience. Obinna must fulfill what he broke. Narrator, VO. Truth cuts deep, but it also heals. Scene 4 The Confrontation 02:31:03:30 Camera, medium shot Pastor visits Obinna at his workshop. Visual, Obinna looks shocked and uneasy. Pastor. Your daughters are not free because you are still in chains. Release them. Do what's right. Scene 5 Silent Reflection 03:31:04:30 Visual, Obinna alone that night, staring at an old photo of Amaka. Music, slow, meditative. Narrator, VO. Sometimes, it takes another man's voice to awaken your own. Scene 6 Outro Prompt 04:31:05:00 Text on screen. Do spiritual truths still have power in cultural conflicts? What would you tell Obinna? Screenplay Episode 8, The Power of Prayer and Deliverance. From, Amaka and Obinna Story, Breaking the Chains of Cultural Bondage. Duration, 4-5 minutes. Scene focus, the family comes together in faith to seek God's intervention, leading to spiritual breakthrough. Scene 1 Gathering in Unity 00:00:45 Camera, wide shot the family kneeling together in their living room. Visual, dim light, flickering candles, open Bible. Narrator, VO. What tradition bound, faith began to unravel. Scene 2 Intercessory Prayer 00:46:01:30 Camera, close up Pastor leading the prayer, hands on Amaka's daughters. Visual, tears falling, hands raised, voices crying out. Pastor. Lord, break every curse, known and unknown. Let this house be free. Narrator, VO. Chains unseen began to loosen as voices rose. Scene 3 Spiritual Vision 01:31:02:30 Camera, dreamlike montage Amaka sees herself and her daughters walking through a broken gate. Visual, symbolic imagery of chains falling and a locked door swinging open. Music, uplifting, cinematic swell. Narrator, VO. Faith does not ignore reality, it overrides it. Scene 4 A change begins 02:31:03:30 Camera, Obinna sitting quietly, watching the family from a distance. A tear falls. Visual, he looks at an envelope in his hand, bride price documents. Narrator, VO. Something had shifted, not just in the spirit, but in the heart. Scene 5 Closing Reflection 03:31:04:30 Visual, Amaka embracing her daughters. Candle light glows on their faces. Amaka. This is only the beginning. Narrator, VO. Deliverance doesn't just break chains, it writes new stories. Scene 6 Outro Prompt 04:31:05:00 Text on screen. Have you ever seen the power of prayer change a life? Share your story or reflection. Screenplay Episode 9, The Bride Price Finally Paid. From, Amaka and Obinna Story, Breaking the Chains of Cultural Bondage. Duration, 4-5 minutes. Scene focus, Obinna comes to terms with his responsibility and fulfills his long overdue promise, bringing peace to the family. Scene 1 A Silent Morning 00:0000:40. Camera, Obinna waking up at dawn, walking slowly to his table. Visual, he picks up the bride price envelope, stares at it in deep thought. Narrator, VO. Morning doesn't just bring light. It brings decision. Scene 2: The visit. 00:4101:30. Camera, Obinna walking into Amaka's family compound with elders. Visual, Amaka's father looks surprised. Silence. Obinna kneels. Obinna. I come today not just with a price, but with repentance. Narrator, VO. What he delayed in pride, he now delivers in humility. Scene 3: Ritual and Release. 01:31:02:30. Camera, elders receive the bride price. A prayer is said over the union. Visual, traditional rites. Amaka watching from afar, tears in her eyes. Elder. Let this curse be lifted. Let peace return to this home. Scene 4: Daughters rejoice. 02:31:03:30. Camera, daughters dancing in the courtyard. Visual, joyful celebration, neighbors clapping, drums beating. Narrator, VO. Freedom tastes sweeter when you've lived in chains. Scene 5: Reconciliation. 03:31:04:30. Camera, Amaka and Obinna sitting together in quiet. Amaka. You kept us waiting, but you didn't leave us broken. Obinna. I see now. And I will never unsee. Narrator, VO. Sometimes healing begins with a single word, sorry. Scene 6: Outro prompt. 04:31:05:00. Text on screen. Can one act of obedience heal generations? Have you witnessed restoration in your family? Screenplay Episode 10, The Daughters' Marriages and New Beginnings. From Amaka and Obinna Story, Breaking the Chains of Cultural Bondage. Duration, 4-5 minutes. Scene focus, with the curse lifted, Amaka's daughters finally marry and begin a new chapter, marked by hope and restored dignity. Scene 1: Wedding Preparation. 00:00:45. Camera, medium shot Victoria trying on her dress, Helen helping her. Visual, joyful chatter, makeup being applied, jewelry laid out. Victoria. Can you believe it's finally happening? Helen. God answers, even when he takes his time. Narrator, VO. The chains fell, and doors opened. Scene 2: The Wedding Ceremony. 00:46:01:30. Camera, wide shot traditional wedding under a decorated canopy. Visual, dancing, drumming, elders blessing the couple. Narrator, VO. Love that waits patiently is love that lasts powerfully. Scene 3: New Homes, New Starts. 01:31:02:30. Camera, split scenes, each daughter with her husband in a new home. Visual, hanging curtains, unpacking gifts, prayers of thanks. Narrator, VO. Their mother's tears watered the soil for their joy. Scene 4: Amaka reflects. 02:31:03:30. Camera, Amaka writing in a journal by candlelight. Visual, she closes the book and smiles at a family photo. Amaka, VO. They are free. And in freeing them, I have found my peace. Scene 5: Legacy begins. 03:31:04:30. Camera, children playing in the compound. Visual, the daughters, now mothers, watching joyfully. Narrator, VO. New beginnings are not just about new places but new legacies. Scene 6: Outro prompt. 04:31:05:00. Text on screen. When burdens are lifted, blessings follow. What new beginnings have you celebrated? Screenplay Episode 11, Jealousy Between Sisters. From Amaka and Obinna story, breaking the chains of cultural bondage. Duration, 4-5 minutes. Scene focus, family harmony is threatened as jealousy creeps in between the sisters, testing their new beginnings. Scene 1 Helen's celebration. 00:00:45. Camera, Helen being congratulated at her wedding party. Visual, gifts, smiles, cheers. Narrator, VO. When joy comes early to one, it sometimes waits for another. Scene 2 Victoria alone. 00:46:01:30. Camera, Victoria sitting in her room, watching the party from the window. Visual, a single tear rolls down her cheek. Victoria, VO. She's younger, but she found happiness first. What about me? Narrator, VO. Envy wears a quiet mask, but its voice is loud in the heart. Scene 3 Tension at the table. 01:31:02:30. Camera, dinner scene Helen tries to joke, Victoria remains cold. Visual, uneasy silence among family. Helen. Remember when we were kids, Victoria? That was then. Things are different now. Narrator, VO. Sometimes love must be defended, even from within. Scene 4 Amaka's counsel. 02:31:03:30. Camera, Amaka speaks with Victoria in the garden. Visual, quiet moment, birds chirping. Amaka. Your time is not late. God writes different stories for each child. Narrator, VO. A mother's wisdom is often the oil that heals the cracks between sisters. Scene 5 Victoria reflects. 03:31:04:30. Camera, Victoria reading her Bible, then calling Helen. Visual, the sisters embrace. Narrator, VO. What envy tried to destroy, love chose to restore. Scene 6 Outro prompt. 04:31:05:00. Text on screen. Have you ever struggled with comparison? How do you heal when jealousy creeps in? Screenplay Episode 12, Victory, Love, and Restoration. From, Amaka and Obinna story, breaking the chains of cultural bondage. Duration, 4-5 minutes. Scene focus, reconciliation, divine timing, and the peace that comes from trusting in God's plan. Scene 1 A time of reflection. 00:00:45. Camera, Victoria walking in the early morning light, holding her Bible. Visual, peaceful dawn, soft golden light. Narrator, VO. When hearts submit to grace, healing becomes inevitable. Scene 2 A new love appears. 00:46:01:30. Camera, Victoria at church, meeting Friday. Visual, friendly smiles exchanged, eyes bright with possibility. Narrator, VO. In His time, God brings what is meant to be, no delay, no mistake. Scene 3 Family gathering. 01:31:02:30. Camera, family preparing for Victoria's wedding. Visual, Amaka sewing a dress, Obinna smiling as he watches. Amaka. This joy, this peace. It is more than I prayed for. Scene 4 Wedding celebration. 02:31:03:30. Camera, Victoria and Friday exchange vows in a beautiful garden ceremony. Visual, dancing, laughter, bright fabrics flowing in the breeze. Narrator, VO. God's plan is not always early, but it is always perfect. Scene 5 Sisters reunited. 03:31:04:30. Camera, Helen and Victoria dancing together, holding hands. Visual, entire family joins in the joyful celebration. Narrator, VO. Restoration is the final chapter of every broken story surrendered to God. Scene 6 Closing reflection. 04:31:05:00. Text on screen. Have you experienced a time when waiting led to unexpected blessings? Share your story of restoration. Top of form. Bottom of form. 2.